Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reacts. So this week we're looking at Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. So this was the movie that was really meant to kill off Jason Voorhees, finally end the franchise and put a nail in its coffin. So guys, without further ado, let's start reviewing Friday the 13th, part 4. So guys, Friday the 13th Part 4 was released in 1984, and I gotta say, it's probably one of my favourite entries in the whole franchise. There is so much to love about this movie. Starting off with the opening scenes, we're again shown a recap of the last two movies. One thing you have to remember with Friday the 13th is Part 2, 3 and 4 are all based around the same weekend. So Part 4 essentially just takes place on Sunday the 15th. Of that weekend. I did really like those recaps at the start of these movies. Now I am happy this was kind of the last movie that really did that, but up until this point, as it was the same weekend, it was just a nice little way to catch up to see what was happening. As well as that, a lot of people credit things like Halloween, the first and second one, as a movie you can watch back to back. This should also be viewed the same kind of way. So really, if you think about it, you could probably watch 2, 3 and 4 over a weekend yourself or in one night and see the whole Friday the 13th massacre take place. So as I said already guys, there are a lot of positives with this movie. First and foremost, I will say the acting is much better in this movie. After Part 3, where the acting was absolutely atrocious in my opinion, Part 4 does finally get it together again. As with every Friday movie that I've seen so far, we are introduced to a brand new cast of teenage characters ready to be killed. What I liked with this movie though is the teenager characters in this movie you do really care about. There are a lot of characters in it, but each one of them has their own little storyline and you do want to see what happens with each one. As well as that, the development with the characters throughout the movie, you're constantly jumping in and out from different storylines that they have. You can really see that the cast themselves had a bond on set and it does come across on screen. I know Crispin Glover, I think he played Jimmy in the movie, him and the character of Ted were actually really good friends behind the scenes. So when they're on screen together, they're kind of joking around and making little silly gags, you can see that there's a real friendship and you do kind of root for those characters after a while.
Oh my. God, I'm horny.
What I enjoyed as well about this movie is the teenage characters weren't just the main cast. They're a little bit more like secondary characters in this movie. The main kind of people we're meant to care about are the Jarvis family. So the Jarvis family consists of Mrs. Jarvis, her daughter Tina, and their son Tommy Jarvis. The third kind of character we're introduced in this movie is the character of Rob, who's a bit of an outsider, and he's essentially a guy looking for his sister. Now there is a little bit of a continuity error there because his sister, I think he says, went missing a few years ago, whereas in actuality it's Sandra from Friday the 13th Part 2 who had only gone missing 2 days before that and murdered. So guys, one thing I was really surprised with in this movie is the amount of nudity. So for me, Friday the 13th movies, slasher movies in general, they have a lot of nudity, but I didn't really pick up on that until Part 4. Pretty much everyone is naked at times in this movie. Now I know from behind the scenes, when they did the skinny dipping scene, essentially I think it was just meant to be the girls who were meant to get naked. But as I said, the cast did bond very well, and for the boys, just to kind of make up for it and not let the girls go through that alone, they all did the exact same thing. So little things like that, again, I like about it because it does cross over into the movie and you can see that the cast were essentially a group of friends. Another great thing I liked about this is the movie is a lot darker and more brutal, especially Jason. Speaking of Jason, Ted White plays the role of Jason in this movie, and I think he's actually probably the oldest person to take on the role of Jason. He was definitely like his late 50s, pushing 60 when he took this role on. He was a very well-known actor, and I know he was a little bit wary about taking the role on, given that it was one of the most iconic slasher killers of all time, and he wasn't sure if he wanted his name associated with it. The funny thing is, he is probably one of the best Jasons we've ever had. For a lot of people, he's their favourite Jason, and you can see why. He's similar enough to the Jason from Part 3, but everything that was great about Part 3 Jason, he takes that and essentially just makes it better, which is what you want in your actor taking over the role of Jason. You want to always have someone that's just going to make the role better and better and take what was good from the previous entries and work on that. lot of thunder and lightning and rain in this movie as well, which I thought was quite good. You know, a lot of the movie, it is based on nighttime, which I like for a Friday movie. So you throw in some thunder and lightning, you throw in a heck of rain, and it does make it that much better. Now I know Ted White did fight with the director at times because of that, because for him, watching the young cast, you know, in these conditions, essentially being paid nothing, he wasn't a fan of it. So he did clash a lot with it. He didn't really want his name associated with this. But again, you know, you have a great Jason, you have some great teenage cast, paired out with some darkness, thunder and lightning, and you have a great movie. One thing I noticed about the Jason in this movie though, and one thing I wasn't a huge fan of, is he does seem to smash through everything. So most of his kills in this movie, it's either him, you know, smashing through a window, smashing through a mirror, throwing someone up against a wall, up against a car. So there's a lot of loud bangs in this movie. I think when I was watching it, anytime anyone walked past a window or a mirror, I was immediately thinking, okay, Jason's going to smash through this. That was fun, but after a while it got a little bit repetitive, especially with the kills. Speaking of the kills in this movie, guys, my favourite by a long shot is Crispin Glover's Jimmy's kill. So when he gets the cleaver to the face, I thought that was done so well, and it was so quick and brutal that I absolutely loved it. Other kills, you know, one guy gets like impaled in the crotch. There's a girl who gets thrown out a window, where Jason's pretty much on the outside of the window, smashes through and just drags her out. That was also a really good kill. It's a very good jump scene as well. But then you're pairing that with other types of kills. So you have, you know, Mrs. Voorhees, who we don't actually see killed, which I thought was quite good. You know, you don't have to see every kill in it. Your mind and your imagination a lot of times can be much worse. As mentioned earlier, we also have the character of Tommy Jarvis. So this is probably one of the best Tommy Jarvises we get. We get him in 3 different movies, but Tommy Jarvis here, you know, he is a young boy. You do identify with him, you know, you want him to beat Jason, you want him to win. Now this movie was billed as the final chapter, so the climactic kind of scene, it is a big scene. You know, at the time when they were making it, maybe they were deciding that this was it and they wanted to give everything to it. And you do get that. So the character of Trish, Tommy Jarvis' sister, she puts a really good fight against Jason. But at the end of the day, it comes down to Tommy versus Jason. What I found funny was, similar to part 2, there is another character who dresses up, and you know, as someone from Jason's past essentially. So in this movie, Tommy dresses up as Jason Voorhees, so little boy Jason Voorhees. He shaves his head and he just tries to kind of trick Jason slightly, just kind of slow him down. I thought that was really cool, especially since it was over one weekend and that's actually happened twice. But Tommy Jarvis, he does shave his head. He pretends that he is, you know, little Jason, just to slow him down, to distract him as long as he can before hitting him with a machete. And that machete hit is absolutely savage. Tom Savini definitely, you know, works his ass off with this movie. One scene in particular you can see that way is when the machete goes through Jason's face. You know, he falls on the ground and essentially slides down the machete. It's a great scene, it's great practical effects, and for the most part it does still hold up today. But I did really enjoy that final battle between the two of them. I thought it was a great little ending to the movie. If it had been the ending to the whole franchise as well, it would have been a good ending, essentially because it was over one whole weekend. So it's this one big massacre at the end of the day. Saying all that though, guys, I do definitely have negatives with this movie. One in particular is the character of Rob. I thought it was a really good idea that they threw him in there. You know, it made it a little bit different. You had a family over here, you teenagers over here, and you had this other character in his own separate storyline over here. I thought it was quite good. Now, again, as I said, there are inconsistencies with it. His sister essentially only, you know, died a day or two beforehand, and he's kind of talking about that he's been looking for Jason for years. So that didn't really make much sense, as well as that his death I thought was absolutely stupid. For a character that you build up, you know, who's going to go against Jason and fight Jason, for him to die in such a silly way. Number one, we don't really see the kill, we just hear him screaming, "He's killing me." It just kind of wasn't the character I was expecting throughout the whole movie, to die like that. He was also forgotten about very quickly and it got moved on to, you know, Jason versus Trish. Another negative, guys, I've had with this are the side characters. So there's a few side characters literally just thrown into this movie for extra kills. That's always been something I didn't like about Friday the 13th, watching it growing up, was just unnecessary characters thrown in there just for a body count. For me, I like to care about the characters. You know, if you're watching and a character is someone you genuinely care about and they get killed off, it's much more effective and it makes the kill matter so much more. I thought what they were doing with Tommy Jarvis at the end of the movie, you know, when he is kind of screaming die as he stabs Jason, that was quite effective. It's in my negative list just because nothing really ever came of that. But at the same time, it would have been good to see, you know, what would have happened if they'd gone down that route. But guys, all in all, this is an absolutely great Friday the 13th movie. For me, it's definitely probably one of the best slashers of the whole 80s. If I was to recommend a slasher movie to check out, this would be one. Check it out if you can. If you've seen it, pop your DVD back in and give it a look again. You will not be disappointed. But guys, that is my review of Friday the 13th Part 4. As I said, I would highly recommend it. It has a great cast, great acting, absolutely great kills, and one of the best Jasons we've gotten yet. If you like this review, guys, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you can, just so you don't miss any other videos. And until next time, guys, Heidi ho.